So once again, welcome to the Unshakable Foundation meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. This is a main share meeting, and today it's with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Rico C, who's come to share on the topic of dumpster to divine for up to 40 minutes, after which we'll open up for the Q&A portion of the meeting. And with that, Rico, it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, kind sir. Appreciate it. Good evening, family and friends. Welcome, newcomers. My name is Rico Cruz, and I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic, powerless over cocaine. Glad to be here with you on this sunny day. Oh, it's evening, man. It might not be sunny right now, but the sun will shine from within, and I'm sure it will from you too. I like to say that I'm here by the grace of a loving and passionate and kind and compassionate God, because when I got here, I didn't want to be bothered with the God idea. And I made you know every time you talked about the God idea to kind of miss me with that. Everything else is okay, but the God idea wasn't really one of my favorites. And as I negotiated these steps, the God idea really didn't come to me until about 6 and 7. So if you knew, it's difficult to find some kind of power taking these steps with no higher power. At least it was for me, and I don't recommend it. But that's the way it was. That was my truth. That was my experience. So there's no reason for me to dress that up for you. I came here. They used to tease me. They called me a no God baby. And I'll tell you why. When I was about maybe between 9 and 11 years old, I was trying to be an altar boy. I'm a Puerto Rican born in Spanish Harlem in New York. And there, most of us at that time were all into Catholicism. And we were going to church every Sunday and making communion and confirmation and all that good stuff. So I said, it might be a good idea to be an altar boy. So I start trying to become an altar boy. But at that time, they weren't testing people. And I didn't know I was dyslexic. So I was having a hard time. And also at that time, the masses were all in Latin, maybe 1%, a couple of words English, not too many. Mostly all of it was in Latin. And I was having a difficult time learning and maintaining Latin. So these two kind fathers, or priests, if you will, thought they would help me. And they came up with this loving methodology that one would hold me real tight so I couldn't move, and the other one would whack my knuckles until they were black, blue, and bleeding. And that was going on every time we had altar boy practice, every time. And all the other altar boys were crying and screaming and putting their hands over the face. They didn't even want to watch. And I was, like a lot of Puerto Ricans, I was vindictive. I was honoring. And I said, and arrogant. I said, you will never, never make me cry. I said that to myself. I didn't say that to the priest because they were whacking those knuckles. And they got to a point one day where I couldn't take it no more. And I looked at them and I pushed the priest behind me and I pushed the father in front of me. And I went running out of that church, running. And I wouldn't let them see me crying because I knew that flood was getting ready to come. And I ran out of that church and I looked back up at that cross and I said, God, if this is what you're about, I don't want no more. I'm done. And from that day until a little while after I met you, I swore that I would never dawn the steps of a church ever again. And I carried that all the way with me, almost to my second inventory. I just said the God idea was going to work for me. If God was letting these two priests who I thought walked on water, that wasn't their fault, that was mine, could beat my knuckles like that, and I had to go home and lie to my mother, because my mother thinks the Catholic priest walks on water. So she says, what happened? I said, I got into a fight. Well, after a couple of months of choir boy rehearsal, she said, when are you going to stop fighting? I said, soon, Ma, soon, because I didn't want to break her heart and tell her the priest did this. I don't even know if she could have inhaled that. So I just said, I was just fighting. But many years later, I had to make amends for that lie too, but I couldn't have told her then because I was emaciated. I was black, blue, bleeding, purple. It just wasn't a good idea. And I associated that not with the priest. I associated that with God. So when I first met you and I got introduced to Cocaine Anonymous, I was like, no. I will do anything, not the God idea. It's, come on. No. When you talk about the higher power stuff, I know what you're talking about. I know you're referring to. My mother didn't raise no fools. The God idea is just not my deal. So we started negotiating these steps. And I went to a meeting one day, and this old man, he talks to me, he says, come here, Sonny. I said, Sonny? My name ain't Sonny. I tell you, I'm ornery, I'm vindictive, I'm arrogant. He said, my name ain't Sonny. Este Rico Cruz, yo soy Boricua. And I'm sticking my chest out and puffing up. And I was weighing about 99 pounds, soaking wet, with 2 pair of pants and 2 sweatshirts. If I turned sideways, I could dodge raindrops. I was that sucked up. But in my mind, I wasn't. And he said, come over here, Sonny, sit down, shut up. And I said, yes, sir. And I knew when he told me to shut up that he knew I was dying, and I knew I was dying. I said, yes, sir. And I sat down and listened. And he flipped some pages. I didn't know he was flipping. I had never seen Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous in my life. He flips to these pages. He said, we're going to start right here, as if I knew where right here was. He said, we'll get to these at another time. That's just some history you may be interested in. He said, right now, you're dying. We need to start right here. And he opened up the book to this thing called The Doctor's Opinion. And I looked at the doctor's opinion. He went through it word by word, line by line, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, slow and easy, and did not let me move on until I showed some sort of a semblance of, I have a slight idea of what you're talking about. Anything except the God idea. He could skip over that with me. I wasn't listening to that. I wasn't wired for that at that time, by choice. So he starts reading a few pages. I'm listening, he's reading. And this guy's reading. It's a big boy, tatted down, penitentiary type, my kind of brother. And when big men teach, what comes out their mouth is sweet. The gentle giant comes out instead of the big penitentiary tatted down dude. The gentle giant was coming out. And it kind of relaxed me. Instead of looking at his bulk and his size and his attitude, I started listening to the spirit of him. Although spirit was not in my vocabulary then. But that's what I felt, because this is a looking back experience. I know what happened now. I didn't know what was happening then, and I didn't know what was happening while we were going through this work. So he starts highlighting some of the things in the doctor's opinion, and I kind of see a little bit of me. So that sounds like me. And I'm no doctor. I'm a Dr. Feel Good, but that's all. And we start walking through this doctor's opinion, and he starts talking about this threefold disease of mind, body, and spirit, the allergy of the body, a phenomenon of craving, and a sick spirit. I've come to something different today, but I don't want to have any controversy while I'm here sharing with you. But I have some opinions, let's say, like everybody else, of that spiritual malady. I see it a different way now. I won't involve you in that. I might touch on it, but it can be controversial for some of you CA police or some of you big book thumpers. You may, because you're raised on the threefold disease. But I found out since then that spirit can't be safe. But that's a horse with another color. We'll talk about that another time if you're interested. So I'm looking at these things, and it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Now I am tore up. I'm spiritually, emotionally, physically emaciated. When I walk down the street, people get within about 100 yards and they cross the street. And I don't blame them. Because when I got a glimpse of me one day, I tried to cross the street, but I showed up where I was going. So wherever I go, there I am. I hadn't looked in the mirror in about 2.5 years. My hair was matted. People thought I had dreadlocks. No, my hair was matted from wearing a baseball cap and not taking showers or baths or any other form of water that got in the way of my smoking. So I continue on this journey, and I'm listening to this guy about this doctor's opinion, and it makes sense, and it scares me. I said, if it makes sense, I'm a pretty sharp guy. Why am I in this position? But I don't ask him. We go on. We finish the doctor's opinion. I got a kind of sense to going on. Instead of being a sorry SOB, I find out I'm a sick man with a disease that's treatable. So he says, I don't know yet. So he says. So we roll over to the first 8 pages of Bill's story. I said, well, what about the other ones? He said, we'll get to that later. That's when he comes to his senses and he starts recovering. You don't know anything about that now. Let's just look at this part while he's sick. And that's all he took me through was the first 8 pages of Bill's story. And it started making sense. And I asked myself, did I drink like Bill? Did I use like Bill? Did I think like Bill? Did I feel like Bill? That was the killer. Did I feel like Bill? And I did. So I got a little something I can relate to now. And then we roll over and we go to there is a solution. I start getting a little, I don't know if you know what a mustard seed looks like, but I start getting just a little mustard seed of hope that maybe I don't have to die loaded. Maybe. I might, but maybe. And we're going to, there is a solution. And he reads on to a couple of pages, and I start getting a little bit of hope. I haven't had any hope unless it was about dope in about 20 years. So I'm starting to get a little bit of hope. Maybe I don't have to die this way. We're not even talking about living. Maybe I don't have to die this way. And he rolls me over and we come out of a weird solution. I start getting a little bit of hope. And he goes into more about alcoholism. And my world stops. I see the poster child, the Alcoholics Anonymous, and the experience. Rico Cruz, the thinking, the feeling, the actions, all in more about alcoholism. And I see me. I go, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe, I'm saying maybe, I'm homeless, helpless, godless, thoughtless, penniless, spiritless. And I'm saying to my sharp self, maybe you have a problem. Family, there is no maybe. I had a big problem. I just wasn't aware of it. See, what happened was, and I'm going to roll back a minute and stop at that point before we get to the God idea, because then we go sideways. I've been drinking and using all my life. After high school, I was an elite high school athlete, and I was supposed to go and become something. And pretty women, cocaine, and alcohol got in the way of that. Dreams gone, party starts. And I partied for the next 20 years. Of those 20 years, when I was 19, I had a son. I didn't have a son. My girlfriend had a son. And I said, oh, no, that's going to stop my machine. Because by that time, I had a little import-export business going. And this was before 9/11, so import-export business was easy money. And I started getting things and stuff, and a lot of things and a lot of stuff, and I thought that's who I was. And those things and stuff just kept increasing until my son went away to school. He got recruited to play football for the University of Utah. So the coach calls me, making arrangements. He's going to come home. Come over the house. He's flying down from Salt Lake City. So I'm getting ready to go to work that day. You know, I'm a working guy. I got to keep a front because I'm a single parent with a son and I got things and stuff. I got to look like that I could afford what you see around me. So I always keep a job at that time. So I'm getting ready to go to work. We go to work like this, New York, suited and booted, briefcase. We go do the deal. And when my son goes away to school, right before that, the coach comes down and we're having a Christmas party. And at the Christmas party, we have everything you could ever want laid out on this big carpet table, big table. That's when we had manners with cocaine. You could leave an ounce of cocaine on the table and go to the restroom and come back and it'll still be there. It's not like that anymore. We had what we used to call cocaine etiquette. You can get hit in the baseball bat walking into the dope house talking about cocaine etiquette now. So you guys don't do that no more. So we do what we do. I'm supposed to be home at 10:30. Coach is coming out at 1:30, so I want to make sure no plates or blow or laying around the house or anything like that. And I said, okay, I'll be home at 10:30. My son comes running down the steps. Poppy, it's better day. I said, goodbye, sir. He says, don't forget, the coach going to be here at 1:30. I said, oh, I don't have no clients today. We don't have anything today. We're just going to have a little sippy poo and a little Christmas exchange. Merry Christmas, little gift exchange. You know, I didn't want to tell him about a little blow exchange, but just a little sippy poo. He understood that and exchange gifts. I'll be home way early. So it gets to be 10:30, 11:30, phone rings. My secretary says, Rico, your son's on the phone. I said, tell him I call him back. I'm in a meeting. Phone rings again, half an hour. Your son's on the phone. All right, tell him I'll be right there. Another half an hour passes. Son called. She said, no, I'm putting the call through. You're talking to your son. I'm not telling him that anymore. So she puts on the phone. Say, hey, Bobby. He could tell him a little wired. He said, Dad, 12:30. I said, I'm on my way. I'm going to make a long story short for you instead of boring you. I got home at 8:30 p.m. that night. I was supposed to be at 1:30. I walk in the house. my girlfriend, puts her head down, doesn't say a word. You can hear a pin drop. And my son looks at me like he's never looked at me before. Now, my son thinks I'm his hero. I didn't make me that. He made me that. And he looked at me in a way in which my whole spirit shook. And I didn't know cocaine and alcohol didn't give a damn about how much I loved my son. I didn't know that. And how alcohol and cocaine had me respond to my son, whom I love and would live or die for. All of a sudden, I want to be father of the week. So don't you ever look at me like that. I'm your father. I'm your father. I brought you in this world. I'll take your Puerto Rican ass out. Don't you ever look. And I'm just going at it. And he just puts his head down and he just quietly goes in his room. Now, I don't know that I'm in the grips of this threefold disease. And I'm off and running. And I go in my freezer, take me a little shot of vodka, take me a couple of sniffy poos, get myself together, and I act like nothing happened. I didn't realize the dagger I had put in that young man-child's heart. This is the biggest day of his entire life, besides being born, and he didn't know about that. And I couldn't even show up. Couldn't even show up. And I'm running around telling the world, you touch my son, look at my son wrong, you gone, baby. I'm going to take care of you. And I would. But I don't hold myself to the same standards. I want to be treated like the father of the week. But I pay people to make sure his clothes are clean, he's eating healthy, his homework is done before he goes out in the streets and plays ball. Because that's all he wants to do, is play ball. So we're going to fast forward from that, and that's where I got here. And I'm doing that with no God. So I'm in twice as much trouble. I'm not looking for anybody to come down from the heavens and help me. I'm my God, my gun's my God, my girl's my God, my money's my God, my sack is my God, my cars are my God. Everything's God except God. And that's how I came to you, except I didn't come with the things and the stuff. So I'm going to fast forward to where we were. This guy's getting ready to take me to step 2. And I said, can we skip that one? He said, no, we don't skip anything here. I said, you know where I am with the God idea, Bill. You know where I am. He said, I understand that. He said, do you believe I believe? I said, I know you believe. I see the way people run up to you, ask you questions. I see the light in your eye myself. But that light's never going to be in my eye. No. That's not for Moricuas. That's for you. That works for you. That don't work for me. I can't do the God idea, please. I told you I would do anything except the God idea. He said, well, I'm going to tell you something. This is what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to tell you. There's something out there that makes that sun rise and that sun set. And that something's not you. And he poked his hand in my chest. That something's not you. He said, and that's all you need. But it's programmed to work for you. If you take these 12 steps to the best of your ability in the order that they're written in, something will happen for you. I can't tell you what's going to happen for you, but something's going to happen for you. And he said, do you believe I believe? I said, I know you believe. I don't have a problem with that. He said, well, that's going to make a good beginning for us. And we move on and we finish the rest of We Agnostics. Now, in We Agnostics, for me, I had a wake-up call. I said, man, I'm holding on to this no God stuff. This looks like it might be better for me to believe than not to believe. But I've been a no God baby so long, I can't buy into that. I got to maintain my image as if I had one besides a bum. And he says, okay, well, we're going to move over to step 3 after we chew up We Agnostics. But I like We Agnostics. We Agnostics for this no God baby wound up being one of my favorite chapters in the book. So you go figure. Something happened, and what happened wasn't me. We Agnostics lifted me up that much, but I couldn't show that. So we do the rest of We Agnostics, and we get ready to go into step 3. I said, oh, no. Come on, I told you I didn't want to do the God baby. I'm a no God baby. Let me just live there. He says, come on over. He lived about an hour and a half away. You're probably not familiar with California, but I lived in Castaic, California, and he lived in Pasadena, about an hour and a half away with traffic, about an hour and a half. So we used to meet every Sunday. I go down to his house. He says, come on. Now, remember, I told you, this is a big penitentiary white boy, bearded, tatted, 2 Harleys in the driveway. And he says, okay, come on. And he gets down on his knees. I say, whoa. Homie, don't play that. No. I thought he was hitting on me. He said, get your ass down here. And he pulled me down to the floor. and we were on our knees. He said, now I just want you to repeat after me. I'm going to respect you. I know you're no God, baby. Just repeat after me. And he started reciting the third step prayer real slow. And I had to repeat it after him real slow. But I wasn't having no God experience. I didn't expect one. So I wasn't going to have it. And I wasn't open to one. So of course I wasn't going to have one. And we get into how it works. And the next thing I know, I come in that third step prayer, and he starts giving me the formula to start writing this inventory. Now, where I come from in Spanish Harlem, you never tell on yourself, and you never tell on your friends. We die before we tell. It's not because we're tough. It's just a way of life. And it's embedded in you. You can hardly get out of it when you want to. But something happened in that fourth step, and I start making those 4 columns, and I start filling them out to the best of my ability at the time as a no God baby. So it's not like I go into the fourth step with some help. Now I got a power in my life because I took the third step. No, I went in there with just Rico, nothing else, no help. Mr. Big Shot, I don't need no God. And I go into the fourth step and I do the inventory, and I come down, and I call him. I said, Bill, I'm done. He says, okay, come on down. And I go down with the inventory, and I read him the inventory to my own surprise. And I followed the instructions he told me to follow, and I went home, and I sat for an hour. I went back through the steps, and I called him back and said, I omitted 2 things. He said, I know. I said, how you know? He says, just one of the things when you sponsor a lot of men, you just get familiar with it. Yeah, I left off 2 things. I said, you want me to come down, or you want to do it over the phone? He said, let's do it over the phone. That's an hour and a half down, hour and a half back. I want you to get back to that sitting and reviewing. So I told him some things that I was going to take to my grave. And he said, that's all? He made me feel like Mary Poppins on the jet set. That's all? I just told you my whole life. What do you mean that's all? Just don't put it on the news bulletin, that's all. And I just sat for an hour at home up in Castilla, California, and I just went to this. But remember now, I'm going to this with no power. And we already know by my presence, Rico power ain't doing it. Rico power got me homeless and helpless. But that's how I was doing it. I just couldn't open up the door to the God idea. And we shared the inventory. I'm sitting now, I'm reviewing it, going over it. I don't think I left anything out. And I just sit. And it's starting to get quieter than it normally does. But not because of anything I'm doing. It just happens that way. I just happen to notice it. And I called him back. I said, I think I'm good. We discussed, we talked a little bit. And he says, okay, well, let's see if we can move into 6. I said, well, 6 and 7 is about talking to that guy I don't want to be bothered with. Do we have to do that? By now, this man has gained my trust, and I trust him, and I believe him, and I'm going to follow his directions. He says, yeah, this is the big ones. I said, the big ones? I thought we just finished the big ones, 4 and 5. He said, no, this is the big ones. So I did it. But I did 6 and 7. I did it mechanically. I just talked to God like he was a guy on the corner at the bus stop or something. I didn't expect anything. Because of the kind of tumultuous journey I lived, I didn't think he was going to help a guy like me. I can see why he helped you, but not me. And what happened was, my sponsor said, I just want you to sit and just be quiet and act like God's sitting right next to you. And just ask him, can he help you? And what happened was, unbeknownst to me, for whatever reasons, I became very emotional. I mean, extremely emotional. Crying. And I got real. I said, I'm going to get real with this guy. And I'm screaming at God. I'm cursing at God. I was calling him all kinds of names that I won't even repeat. And I said, if you're up there, if you're really up there, I don't know who you are. If you're up there. And I started crying and said, can you help me? Can you help me? I'm dying. And at that split second, in that moment, I knew the levee opened and that water started running like a river. I'm just sitting there talking to God, cursing God, crying with God. And I'm just sitting there. Just me. And I rolled over in 7. I wasn't entirely ready. I was desperate. Entirely, no way. I was a desperado. And I rolled over in 7. And humbly. Now, I'm a humble guy now. I was not a humble guy then. And I got to get humble. And I go to my crying and my screaming, calling them all kinds of names that don't belong to him. And I ask him, you going to take me, good and bad? I'm more good than I am bad. But while this is taking place, I'm telling you, this is big emotion taking place. Everything, every fiber of my being is shaking and jumping up and down. And then I sit and I get quiet for a second. And in about 3 minutes, every fiber of my being and my consciousness went like this. Shh. And something happened. I can't tell you what happened. What I can tell you is something happened. And in that moment, I have never felt safer, more trusted, more loved, more real, more peaceful. I couldn't believe it. I almost got scared. I was wondering what was happening to me. I was having some sort of shock treatment. So I didn't know. Some things are beyond words. This was a beyond words experience. And I just sat and I couldn't move. And I just sat. But the seat felt like I was levitating. I knew I wasn't physically moving, but something had come over me. And I didn't know what. And I didn't need to know what. I knew something changed. You know how I knew something changed? Because 15 minutes later, I ran and got a tablet and 2 pens. And I start writing. And I start writing. And I start writing. And I start writing. And I called my sponsor and told him what happened. He said, come on down. And I went down there. He said, it's time for you to start your 8th step. I pulled out my tablet. He looked, what? I don't know what happened. Something happened. And I'm still feeling it. And he started looking at it. He said, damn. Because I had a big list my first time around. Because I resented everybody and everything. If you were breathing, I probably resented you. And he went through it, and he took out the ones and showed me. He said, that's not a resentment. That's not an amends. That's not an amends. That's not an amends. But all these, start knocking on doors. And I started knocking on doors. And he started reading to me. We're coming down the back step of 9, and he's reading to me. And he says, we have now entered the world of the spirit. I said, whoa, wait. When did that happen? I was just a Boricua coming out there, eating out the dumpsters. When did that happen? I didn't agree to that. And that's when I found out in 6 and 7 that God didn't need my permission to work in my life. And that scared the hell out of me. I didn't know all those times those police and some other people had guns cocked on me. He pulled. One cop had a gun in my mouth, running out of this bar. He thought I was robbing it and shot it, and it jammed. I had no idea that while I'm playing this No God baby, that I don't get to give God the green light. There is no spot where God is not. I didn't know that. I didn't know he didn't need my permission. So I had the red light up over 20 years on God. No, not you. Help them, not me. And he was there all the time. I had no idea until I got 6 and 7 and realized he's been walking with me this whole time. I remember my friend Wayne Dyer used to say, if you knew every day of your life who was walking right by your side, closer than your next breath, closer than your hands and feet, if you knew who that was, you would never experience fear or doubt. Now take a moment and think about how your life would change if you never experienced. And I ain't talking about that tough guy. I ain't afraid of nothing. No, not that kind. I'm talking about that kind inside where you don't even think fear or doubt. You talking about freedom. Yeah, I wanted some of that. So I kept making those amends. I had to go to San Francisco, New York, Colorado, Puerto Rico. I had to go a lot of places. And I didn't want to because wasn't nobody paying for it. But he said, if you want what we have, you got to be willing to go to any length. I said, but I came this far now. I'm going to keep going. And then he slides me over in step 10. And it says, we're now going to focus on effectiveness and understanding. And again, by this time, I turned into a big crybaby. I start crying like there's no tomorrow. And he just let me be. When I finally got myself together, he said, what's up? I said, I've come in touch with it. I haven't been effective or understanding in 20 years. I thought that would never come into my life again. And here he's bringing me to the door to effectiveness and understanding. I thought that was never again. So I got real emotional in that step, and I hadn't planned to. I come in here, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Rico, and you guys broke me down to nothing and didn't leave me there and start building me back up. And we go into 10. At that time, I was new. I did my 10-step every night, wrote it out, and I'd go see him once a week, and I'd bring down all my papers of all the 10s that I did for that week, and we'd review them. And I did that for 5 years. I still do the 10-step and 11-step every night now, but I don't have to write it down. I've done it enough times that I know how to review my day. And the key is, and be honest with myself, because nobody else is looking. I used to be able to believe my own lies. That's difficult for me now. Even if I mess something up, I got to own it. But what you guys taught me was to own it is freedom. To hide from it is a life run on fear. No fear. I give all my fear to the source you guys introduced me to the infinite one. The one who has his eye. Keep your eye on the one that has his eye on us all. So I don't have to worry about watching anybody anymore. And I got enough practice with 10, and I get you, now this will get you. I get introduced you to step 11. Now here we have back here, this Puerto Rican sleazebag eating out of dumpsters for a couple of years, falls in love with step 11. You go figure. I don't know how that happened. I know it happened. And it wasn't because of the scholarly demonstration. It was because, again, something happened. And I'm starting to see that the only reason something happened, because I finally let go and started listening to you guys in Cocaine Anonymous. I finally started listening and hearing, rather than listening and let it be gone with the wind. And I fall in love with step 11, and I'm loving it. And I asked one guy one year, I had never been to Hawaii in my life, and I always wanted to go. But I wanted to go get some Kona Gold. So the reasons I wanted to go for was the reason I was going for this time. And I wanted to go on a silent retreat, not with a group. I've been on a lot of silent retreats with groups. I wanted to go by myself. And the reason I wanted to go by myself is because I wanted to ask God to show me a little montage of what happened to this kid that was crawling out of that dumpster. What happened? And it took about a half a day to get the noise out of my head. And I just started listening. And that was my first time of going within with no expectation and just see what happens. And I do a lot of step 11s every night. I use in the daytime, but I review everything. I go back on Sundays. I tell my sponsor how I'm progressing with step 11. He says, we're doing pretty good. He says, we come this far. You can't swim across 3/4 of the lake and then want to turn around and go back. Let's finish to step 12. And we're doing step 12, and all the guys that I got sober with, they wanted to, because I got sober at homeless shelter, and then I went to treatment. They wanted to run around and carry the message and speak here and speak there and speak that. That's not really my go-to. I do it because I owe you guys my life. That's not really my go-to. My go-to is one-on-one. One person sitting on that side of the table, I'm sitting on that side of the table, and we begin in prayer, and we invite in the divine third and ask him or her to do something with us. Because if you hang with Rico Cruz, the action character, the body-mind personality, you're going to be loaded. They're going to be calling you a smoker in no time. But if you hang with the spirit, you're going to be okay. And I started learning how to hang with the spirit and not the personality, one day at a time, from 10 to 11 step practices. So everybody was running around carrying the message on our birthdays. Everybody running around taking 23 cakes, going to every meeting ever heard of. I didn't take none. Maybe one at my home group, which was a homeless shelter. That's it. I don't need no cake. The way I lived, I got too much to make up. But what I wanted to know is what happened to that cat coming out of that dumpster? What happened? You happened. The 12 steps happened. Traditions happened. Promises happened. Concepts happened. I mean, just a lot of stuff was happening. But what happened is I opened up that door. And every morning I ask, what will you have me do after I think of my sobriety? What will you have me be? Where will you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? And then I sit and I listen. Sometimes something comes, sometimes not. But if I'm on the corner of stillness and silence, I'm doing just fine. Don't need anything further. That's my go-to. That's where I live. I'm not no spiritual guru. I don't walk on water. In fact, I'm an ordinary Joe. I come from far below ordinary means, trying to do some extraordinary things with some extraordinary beings. And those extraordinary beings are people that God has placed on my path. I don't choose them. They're placed on my path. I just have to stay in the ready position and the acceptance position, even when I don't want to. Because if my motivation for life is to please Rico Cruz, you're going to be calling me a smoker soon. I'll do like I did most of my life. I'll be out the gate by 8, in the spoon by noon, on the floor by 4, and back in the pen by 10. Live like that a long time. You get sick and tired of getting sick and tired. I can't live like that again if I wanted to. You guys have shared too much with me. I've seen too much. I've accepted too much. I can't go back. And the book says, I can't go back even if I wanted to. You've shown me another way of life through this recovery process. You've got me to the place where I'm as close to non-judgmental than I've ever been in my life. Because I'm one of the guys from the street that can read people. If I'm walking with the sauce you introduced me to, why would I need to read somebody? I don't. I let him do that. So you've taken me from that dumpster, threw me in this big gunny sack, doing some concepts, some traditions, some promises, and some steps, and shook me up. And here I sit. Many moons later, here I sit. Have I gone anywhere? No. I've stripped away all that I'm not to find out who really lives inside of me. I have gotten to touch the I am. And I like it. This guy out here, it's just my representative. Who I am is who lives inside of me. One day at a time. And I didn't come here anything like that. They say it's better to be hated for who you are than it is to be loved for who you are not. And I have been loved for who I am not all of my life. Hustler, elite athlete, lover, all the things, money, things and stuff. That's who I thought I was. When all that was stripped away from me, I began the journey to find it out. One day at a time, who I am. Today, I could tell you who I am. And it's not because I'm anything great or anything different. Today, I am that I am. That's who I am. I came here like that, and I'm going to leave here like that. I've never seen what do you call those cars that drive the caskets? I've never seen a hearse pulling a U-Haul. I can't take this with me. No need. Why would I want to take stuff to glory? And glory don't need stuff. One day at a time. So this journey in Cocaine Anonymous has been a whirlwind for me. I was not always willing and able because of my no God status, and I was fighting off a lot of things. But you were kind enough and loving enough to show me the way to freedom. And for that, I am forever grateful for each and every one of you. I don't give a damn if you got 1 second, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, 1 century. I don't care how much time you got. If you're in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous and you're trying to get well, you my man or you my girl. Because I'm not seeing differences anymore. I'm about one love. All of us are expressions of the higher power. We're all different expressions. But that's who lives inside you. It doesn't matter whether you believe, you don't believe. It don't matter. That's just how it is, one day at a time. And it took a lot of cocaine and a lot of sick relationships and a lot of money to find that out. For me, this addict, that was the price of admission. Almost on time. Almost on time. But anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you just for being in Cocaine Anonymous. And if nobody told you they love you, I love you. And I'm in touch with a power now that loves you even more. And I'm just glad for the ride. I wasn't always glad for the ride, but I'm glad I'm not into the results anymore. I've gotten to a place, and not because I'm great. I always emphasize that because it ain't about who I am and what I am. I know who I am. But the ride was good, but it gets greater later, one day at a time, if you want to stay with this. But everybody got to do their own thing. All I say is strip away who you think you are. Or ask yourself, who am I? What am I doing here? Where am I going? Not what am I doing here in Cocaine Anonymous. What am I doing on planet Earth? Why am I here? Do you have the intimacy and emotional connection with your power to ask, what is my purpose here? What is my gift? What would you have me be? I'm going to say this and be quiet. My mantra used to be F God, F God. He didn't do nothing on the streets but beat my knuckle. F God. My mantra now is, how may I be useful? What will you have me do? Where will you have me go? What will you have me say? And to whom? That's all I need to start my day. And I try to the best of my ability, human ability, to be led by spirit one day at a time. Remember, I do not walk on water. I'm just trying to be better today than I was yesterday. And if I see tomorrow, it will be today. And I will love one day at a time, which means I love you. Care not what you think about me, because that's not spiritual. And I'm trying to get on the road of spirit one day at a time. It took me a long time to get here. It's going to take me a while to get to where I'm going, which is to be self-realized. And that'll take some time. So, I love you. Thanks for letting me be here. Namaste.
And first up, we have Michael. Would you like to come in with your question?
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm an alcoholic. I'm really glad I came to this meeting because I heard what I needed to hear. I find that's more what happens these days. I'm guided where I need to be to hear what I need to hear. And today, Rico, you certainly didn't disappoint. You're one of the funniest people I've ever heard speak. I've laughed a lot this past hour. If you were breathing, I probably resented you. That line is perfect. And did you actually know Wayne Dyer?
No, I used to go to, he was my adopted mentor. I used to go to all the
Ah,
things he did in California because
yes, he's a wonderful person. He's gone now, but what a wonderful author. And to have a higher power by my side, and I loved how you put it. You said, well, my friend said the sun rose this morning and it set this evening, and you had no part in that. You didn't do it. So there you go. There must be something out there that's bigger than you and can never experience fear or doubt. And that's what I want. I want that close conscious contact with my higher power so that I can stop fearing everything, feeling fear and doubt all the time. I want to experience freedom. It sounds like you've arrived at freedom, and I like what I see. I want that too. And you can't you can't take it with you. Never seen a hearse towing a U-Haul. That's gonna make my day. I'm gonna tell lots of people that line. Thank you so much, Rico. for helping me stay sober today. You are a wonderful man.
Thank you, Michael. And next up, we have Blaine. Blaine, would you like to come in with your question?
Hi, yeah, sorry about that. I'm Blaine, I'm an addict. Thank you, everybody. My question is, I've been sitting with something about making a decision around something. And my head's been telling me to just make these quick decisions like I used to do in the madness, and I've been trying to sit with it through prayer and meditation, and I've been sat with it for a while now, and I don't feel like I'm getting any answers or being shown which way to go, if that makes sense,
It does. I was going to cut you off when you started. The minute you say, I've been sitting with somebody, you're in the wrong place.
Right.
Invite the infinite one in and sit together as one.
Right.
The minute I sit and go into contemplation by myself, I'm in trouble. I got to sit with the spirit and go into contemplation, then I'm okay. And then I'll be given what I need.
Right. So how would you start that off?
Like whatever kind of opening you have, I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your higher power, but I would sit down and say, just hypothetically, I would sit down and say, something's bothering me. I don't know what to do, and I need to consult you. Can you help me either by vision or a sign or something? I need you to help me see a little clarity, because my physical vision can't see what consciousness could see. Because consciousness, presence, and awareness are non-judgmental. There's nothing they don't see because they're always there. And if I can tap into one of those, I'll get to see what I need to see. And also, you may not get the answer while you're sitting. You may get it next week at the grocery store. So don't look for immediate impact, but do put it out there. Anytime Blaine's or Rico sits down with Blaine or Rico, we're only going so far because we're limited. We want to go with the infinite one, whoever that might be or whatever that might be, to ask, can you bring some of your energy in so I can open my eyes because I can't see it?
Leaving with tidbit.
Huh?
Leaving with tidbit.
All right.
You want to say goodbye?
Yeah.
Thanks, Blaine, for your question. I'm aware we got quite a few hands up and not loads of time, so gonna just bring down question time a little bit. If people coming in with your questions could be quick as possible, that would be great. Next up, we've got Young.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. Hi, my name's Young, recovered addict. Thank you so much, Rico. Wonderful spirit. I really love listening to you. I really related as well, especially when you said about doing the third step prayer with your sponsor. I was exactly the same. When this guy said, right, we're getting on my knees, I thought, what are we doing here? But I just did it anyway. That's when I can look back and think, I just did it. I just, okay. My question. Right at the beginning, when you said, I don't want to cause controversy, and you said, I can't have a sick spirit. Can you discuss that a little further, please? And thank you so much.
Yeah, I would never contend anything Bill Wilson says because he saved my life. And I think at the time he was writing, that was about right. But since I've been around for a couple of days and been, chasing this spiritual thing of awakening, I've found out that spirit can't be sick. Let me see how quick I can say this. There's two things happening in any one moment. There's the world of form, and that's the world where we live. There's a world of content. That's the world where spirit lives. Spirit can't be sick. Soul sickness, Bill talked about, was exactly correct. That can happen, but spirit cannot be sick. What only can be sick is how we act out from whatever's going on with us. But in the world of form, spirit don't even come. Spirit lives in the world of content. And the world of content is only perfection, love, and joy. Nothing else. No if, and, those, we, none of that. That only comes in the world of form. And who made the world of form? Us. And who are we? Ego. So you got ego or spirit. You only can be coming from one of those places. You cannot come from both at the same time. You're either coming from ego, and don't have to be big vultures. It could be just inbred, or you come from spirit. If you come from spirit, it can't be but anything except about love. There's no half love, 3/4 love, 2/3 love. There's just love. It just is abundant love. The minute you cross over into the world of form, then this is ego's domain. That's why they tell you to go inside, because ego don't live inside. He lives out here in the world of form. Inside, we hope you go to the world of content and float there for a while.
Great question. Thank you. Next up, we have Hannah. Would you like to come in? Just need to unmute yourself, Hannah.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm an addict. Not a question. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Rico, for your share. I found it very inspiring and very emotional, and it's what I needed to hear today. So thank you very much.
Hannah, I've ever met you before. You look familiar. No?
She's on mute. Thank you, Hannah, for coming in. Connor, would you like to come in with your question?
Yeah, thank you for the share. I was just being from Belfast, I seen the division between like what religion can do to people and what some classes faith, but coming into these rooms and hearing stories like yours has really reinforced my belief that, as you said, it's not religious as a thing. It's more just your own faith within a higher power. And it was just amazing to hear what you had to say about your own life and how divided you were, but how you fell back on your own faith so much. And I'm only a month in, and it's just good to hear that what I'm doing right now is good and works.
Connor, do you have
But
a question for Rico?
not really. I wanted to say thank you for the share and how.
Thanks for coming in, Connor. Good to see you.
Thank you, Con. I appreciate that. It don't have to be a question. I appreciate hearing about you. Thank you. And 1 month in, man, just hang in there and stick with us, man. Just don't go nowhere. People say keep coming back. Forget that. Just stay.
Definitely do stay with us, Connor. And next and lastly, we've got Cookie. Cookie, would you like to come in, take us out with the last question?
Hey up, everyone. Cookie, alcoholic addict. Thanks, mate, for hosting. And Rico, that was a brilliant share, mate. My question today is, well, just a little bit about me. Like, I believe in God. I've been brought up in God. I go in God's house. I feel that power. But see, I have to rely on Him today. It's all about the higher power. I understand that. When was your point? Because I could understand that you obviously had that feeling as well. When was your point when you connected, and how did you connect? Because I believe that I just struggle to rely. So when was your point on when you found like you couldn't connect? When the point was when you did connect, and how did that happen?
The point where I don't know if I couldn't connect, I didn't connect, is when I was getting my knuckles beat to death when they were bleeding. And when I did connect, don't be like me, because I was a late bloomer. I didn't really connect, until step 6 and 7. I wouldn't advise anybody to go through the steps 1 through 5 without a power, because to be rigorously honest, from where we come from, you need a power. I was just, if there was another fellowship besides Cocaine Anonymous, for me, probably would have been Damn Fools Anonymous, but they didn't have that one. So CA sounded okay. But no, don't go through the steps without a power. He said you got a power. But when I really got in and accepted, it was step 6 and 7. When it really just, I didn't do anything. It just happened to me. I didn't do it. I didn't call for it. I didn't ask for it. I just asked for help. And it just had a very deep emotional experience with the God idea as I kept moving forward through 8 and 9, and then 10, and then 11, and then 12 when I went on that silent retreat. I'm like I can't be unconnected unless I go back to the other fellowship, Damn Fools Anonymous. That's the only way I can be disconnected.